Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into That's What I Think with Brandon Swanson. I'm your fearless host, Brandon Swanson, and this week I'm talking about something that you never want to talk about. One of the worst things to ever happen in America, and just days ago, we had the worst mass shooting in the United States happen in Las Vegas. And I'm here today to talk about it and give my thoughts. And it's not easy because nothing like this is ever easy. Nothing like this is something that people ever want to talk about. But I wanted to talk about it today, one, because I wanted to tell some of the stories of what people did in their heroics, and also later in the show to talk about what we can do moving forward. So you started off an 11-minute hell on earth that began at the Route 91 Harvest Festival in Las Vegas. And this happened as shots rang out from the 32nd floor of Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas on the Strip. And that's what began the horrible night that led to 59 deaths and over 500 others injured. Just terrible. Terrible. This monster who did that, because we won't use his name, I could basically refer to them as an it, because I don't think they were human when they did this. This monster used video cameras in their room so that they could see when the police were coming to their room, so that they would be able to get off as many shots possible before, well, they took their own life, because they're clearly soulless and cowards. A coward. Public officials suggested that his mind was troubled. Clearly his mind was troubled. However, they say there is and was no mental illness, no sign of mental illness at all. I think they should go and recheck. A normal person would not do something like this. A normal person wouldn't have 23 guns in their hotel suite. An AR-15, high-capacity magazine. Another AR-15 with a scope, something you would use for hunting animals, not hunting people. Over the years, he purchased shotguns, handguns, rifles. No one needs that many guns. A hunter, someone who literally did nothing but hunt, doesn't need that many guns. At the monster's home, they found more than 19 guns, an explosive, and in his car, ammonium nitrate, something you use for bomb making. And at another residence, 5 more handguns, 2 shotguns, and tons of ammo. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. How none of this was caught up to this terrible tragedy is beyond me. And again, it was all this that led to the deadliest mass shooting in the United States. And we've heard some terrible stories from that night. Bobby and Jenny Parks, a married couple. They'd been high school sweethearts, swaying to a love song, when a bullet struck her, and Bobby held her as she died. That just shouldn't happen. It just shouldn't happen. Cameron Robinson, 27 years old, was shot in the neck. His boyfriend carried him to a vehicle, but by the time they made it to the hospital, Robinson had already passed away. People were at this concert with loved ones. You had moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, friends. So many people that were lost that day. Senseless act. Evil. Evil act. Again, not human. You can't be human to do something like that. Cops in Vegas laid on people to act as human shields. There were people who ran towards the shooting to try and save people, to try and take the injured away. Look at the videos. As horrible as what that was, it gives you a little bit of hope in humanity that not everyone out there is as evil as this person was who did this. That there's people out there that do care. There's people out there that do have love in their heart. However, this, as was likely, has led to the rise of the gun control argument yet again. Are we doing enough to protect our citizens? Are background checks being made? Is enough going into the background check? Are people discovering loopholes? These are all great questions. These are all things that we should be looking at. We should be talking about. People have said, oh, the shooting has been politicized. I don't think people are trying to politicize it. I think people are trying to find a solution so that this doesn't ever happen again. And if that's about talking about gun control, okay, let's do it. I told you earlier in the show how many guns this monster had. Multiple places. Well over 20. That's outlandish. That's sickening. That's wrong. That shouldn't happen. No one should have that many guns. The apocalypse is not near, even though people may think it. Even that may be too many guns for the apocalypse. What are we doing? What are we doing? There's people that have said, oh, if we want to push with gun control, we're going to have to put more money in. We're going to have more FBI investigations. Do it. Do it. We spend money on everything else in this country. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's spend a little bit more money to make sure that things like this don't happen again. They can't happen again. So hell, if we have to spend more money to make sure that background checks are being done to the fullest, making sure that people who are supposed to be doing the background checks are going the full distance. I know we've all gotten bored before in our job. We've all gotten a little lazy. They can't be lazy in that job. They need to make sure what they're supposed to do is being done. That's important. So yes, it's time to have the gun control conversation. Whatever side you're on, it doesn't matter. You should be on the side of humanity. We're all one. We're all humans. We should all be able to have this discussion and try and come to a common place. This isn't left or right. This is how can we save lives? That's what this is. It's not about taking guns away from law-abiding citizens. It's about taking guns away from people who are not mentally stable, who have criminal backgrounds, who have a history of violence. That's what it's about. Taking guns out of the hands of people who should never have them in the first place. We all send prayers. We all send prayers and comforting thoughts, but prayers just may not be doing it anymore. Prayers aren't bringing back loved ones. But if we can do something to get out in front of this and be proactive so that it doesn't happen again, whatever it may be, it's time to do it. It's time to do it. I do want to offer one more perspective, which is not necessarily mine, but one that I thought to be very interesting. We remember the Sandy Hook shooting, Newtown, Connecticut. We thought then it was going to be one of the worst shootings that we'd ever see. And at that point, we thought, how, why, how could this ever happen? 20 children, 6 staff members dead that day. One of these students was Jesse Lewis. Jesse Lewis was 6 years old. In his last moments, what did Jesse Lewis do? Saved 9 of his classmates at 6 years old. His mom, Scarlett Lewis, started up a foundation called the Jesse Lewis Choose Love Foundation. The mission is to ensure all children have access to social and emotional learning in their classrooms. Scarlett Lewis believed that we just couldn't wait anymore for someone else to solve the issues in our society. And she's right. We can't. Because if we do, it'll take forever. We talk about gun control. That conversation's been going on for years. I assume it will continue to go on for many more. SEL, which is what I had just mentioned, is based on a 5-step process. Teach kids and adults how to have positive and healthy relationships, deep connections, coping skills, resilience, and compassion. Nurturing, healing, love. Scarlett, she made a great point. Yes, guns were used in the Sandy Hook shooting, but she said just months later, the Boston Marathon bomber didn't use guns, and they still killed a lot of people. It's not necessarily always about guns. It's about violence, hate in people's hearts. I just said it. Nurturing, healing, love. I think Scarlett Lewis is onto something here. We don't have enough love. She believed, and as do I, if these monsters had love in their heart, weren't so angry, had the help they needed, the skills they needed, we could have avoided this. And if we have nurturing, healing love going forward, and we use the steps of SEL, maybe we can. And I hope that we do. And that's what I think this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And go home and hug someone today. Hug your best friend. Kiss your mom and dad. Show them love. We don't do it enough. And we have to. Again, thanks so much. Have a great week. I love you all.